just feel like this is a sacred school and we're here to learn and we're here to play. To be honest, this is not a school to where everything is just so serious. We actually like to play here. We like to learn here. And we understand that life in earth is a school and you're supposed to play. You're supposed to have fun here. So these lessons are going to be unconventional. They're not like your regular lessons that you'll hear in any other wellness or spiritual leader. Not over here, y'all. Not over here. We're going to talk about plants. We're going to talk about animals. We're going to talk about real life things. We're going to talk about technology, psychiatry, spirituality, quantum physics, all these things in metaphors, analogies, allegories, just like most religions do. Because this is a sacred school, okay? So, one thing I want to talk about today or bring to your awareness is how we are just like nature, how we're just like trees and birds and bees and plants and everything that you can see around you. And one example that I talked about very briefly on TikTok this morning, if you're following me there, is the Mimosa Pudica plant. This is a plant that go off vibrations. So this lesson today is going to be teaching you about energy, frequency, vibrations, and your nervous system, and how our nervous system in humans reflect the nervous system in plants. And maybe this will be a way you can understand how your body works and how your body responds to threats. Okay? When I went to a jungle in Ghana, I walked past the Mimosa Pudica plant. And I asked the tour guide, I said, that plant looks familiar because I remember seeing this plant and I've been hearing people talk about this plant on social media. So I just wanted to make sure. So if you've never seen the Mimosa Pudica plant, the Mimosa Pudica plant, it looks like a regular plant, but it's nothing regular about this plant, y'all. This plant sends out vibrations. This plant sends out frequencies to the other plants, and that's how they communicate to let them know whenever danger or threat is around the area. So of course, naturally a plant has these leaves that spread apart, right? But whenever the Mimosa Pudica plants experience a threat from a person or an animal or something that's going to take away from them, what happens is the plant kind of contracts. It starts off like this. Of course, the leaves are spread out. And then once you touch the plant just suddenly just contracts, just like this. And it turns into something that almost looked like a stick versus a plant. So it looked like this, which is, of course, unattractive because they want to make sure that they're not going to be eaten or they're not going to be in an unsafe environment. So they want to look unattractive. They want to look unappetizing too, because of course, if people want to eat them, you want to make sure that you look ugly. So you don't want to eat me. I look ugly. I don't look good. So don't eat this. So basically that's what the plants communicate to its environment whenever it's in danger. Don't eat me. I'm going to contract. I don't even look like something that you want to eat. And just seeing it and touching that plant and getting a chance to experience that let me know that a lot of people, a lot of my clients, and a lot of us, and I'm actually guilty of doing the same thing in my past, we shrink ourselves the same way that plants shrink themselves, especially when we feel like we are in the presence of something that's a danger or something that's a threat to our nervous system. So let's talk about our nervous system for a second. I want to talk about fight or flight or survival mode because those terms are very popular, but what does that actually mean? What does being in fight or flight mode means? What does being in survival mode means for your system? And how does it affect your body? So let's talk about it. Whenever we experience a threat, which is going to be normal, we're not going to be in this sacred bubble. I know this is the sacred school bus, but we can't be in this sacred bubble that's always going to be protective and everything is going to be safe and everything's going to be okay and we're going to live in this perfect world, because that's just not reality. And our body learns through discomfort. Our body learns through challenges. So our body has this system, just like the plants, that protects us or tell us whenever we are unsafe. So that's whenever you experience fight or flight mode. So of course, let's say for instance, you're in a grocery store and somebody comes in and they want to rob the store. Your body immediately goes into fight or flight mode. But imagine being in that store when the threat is there with a weapon and you feel like you're about to basically be unalived. Imagine if you stayed in that store for 20 years. Can you imagine what happens to your body after 20 years of being in a space that's like life-threatening for you? Can you imagine? What do you think happens then when you're in this space for an extended period of time and your body feels the threat? all of a sudden now, what happens is with your body starts to shut down in fight or flight mode because your body is saying, no, this person is not safe. I need to protect this person. So your body begins to shut down. When your body shuts down, it releases these chemicals in your body to let your body know, okay, she's unsafe right now, so help her out a little bit more. Your body is smart. Your body does all the work for you a lot of times. And when you're in an unsafe area, your body is going to help you by giving you more of this chemical called cortisol. Okay, that's your stress hormone. And also it's going to produce this imbalance in your neurochemicals such as dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine and serotonin are the main chemicals that manage your mood, your emotions, your concentration, your focus. And if those are blocked for an extended period of time, or if those are out of balance for an extended period of time, that's when we manifest physical disorders such as anxiety, depression, and a lot of other medical diseases. So I use this dramatic example or analogy of being in the store where somebody is going to rob it because I want you to know that your body really doesn't know the situation. It just sees and feels unsafe. Unsafety, threat. Just like the mimosa plant, it doesn't know that Keldrika just coming here to touch me, or this bear is just coming here to just look at me or just view me. It doesn't know the difference. It just knows threat. So let me contract. Okay, your body is doing the same thing. Your body just knows threat, contract. So let's do another example. So for an example, if you feel like you're around people who are unsafe, and this doesn't even just mean that they have to be physically abusing you. You can be around people who are just unsafe for your nervous system. And when you begin to dim your light or shut yourself down and you feel like you can't be this big plant and you can't extend your leaves or you can't spread your wings because you feel like this person is dangerous, even though I don't really have the evidence or the words to vocalize how I feel, my body is shutting down. And I know that I have to wear this mask in front of this person because if I unmask, if I be myself, then that's where the threat is. Then that's where I'll experience the most, let's say, abuse. It could be emotional abuse, physical abuse, or just insults or these jokes or things that happen whenever you do feel like you're around people who aren't safe for your nervous system. So your body doesn't really know, it just feels. It doesn't know that this threat is bigger than this threat. It just knows threat. And your body begins to shut down. So why am I saying this? Why am I giving you those two examples? I'm giving you those examples because so many times with my clients, and again, I am guilty of doing this in the past, we find ourselves around people who are unsafe for us. And you know that you are unsafe if you cannot unmask, if you cannot be yourself, if you cannot spread your leaves, if you have to dim your light, if you have to contract and be a shell of a person and not show your gifts, not show your personality, that's when you know that this is danger. Okay, so just imagine being in a relationship with someone like your boyfriend or a girlfriend or even just a friendship, and you can't be yourself. You feel like you always have to dim your light. Y'all, that over time, again, causes chemical imbalances, causes energetic blocks. And if you have chemical imbalances such as dopamine and serotonin for an extended period of time, at least 2 weeks, then you can clinically diagnose yourself or be diagnosed with anxiety or depression. That's all that is, y'all. That's all that is. Whenever you have this chemical imbalance of serotonin, whenever you have this chemical imbalance of dopamine, you present with physical symptoms. You manifest physical symptoms. A lot of times it's going to be hard to focus and concentrate because how can you focus and concentrate when your body is unsafe? A lot of times it's going to be hard to sleep. How can you sleep well if you feel like you're unsafe? How can you sleep well if you feel like your body is unsafe? You can't. A lot of times you'll be up thinking about things, ruminating, planning for the future, predicting the future, excessive worry. You're going to experience that because you know that your body is unsafe. Okay? How can you have a regular appetite and reach for the healthiest foods when now when your body is in stress mode, it's going to be looking for comfort food. Now because your cortisol level has increased, now you're going to be looking for junk food to comfort you because now you have to self-soothe yourself. So you're doing all of these things to compensate when it's really that you need to remove the threat or place boundaries around this threat in your life. Okay, y'all? So being in an unsafe environment, an environment where you have to dim your light, an environment where your body feels like it has to shut down, an environment where you feel like if you're around this person, you feel drained, or you're around this in maybe a job or maybe a parent and you just completely feel drained, that's the first indicator that you are not safe. When you are not safe, you need to implement these things to make sure that you can walk on a path towards safety, walk on a path towards safety again. Whether that's boundaries, saying no, speaking up for yourself, confronting people, because a lot of times when you don't confront people, you continue to allow the bad behavior to occur. Guilty of it. And you have to speak up for yourself, y'all. You really do. You have to speak up for yourself, because if not, just like the mimosa plant, you're going to just be contracted. You're going to be unattractive. You're not going to feel full. You're not going to feel filled with life. You're not going to feel like you're yourself. You're just going to feel like, I'm only doing this to make you feel comfortable so you don't hurt me. Isn't that something? Isn't it something to walk throughout life and feel like you have to dim your light, because if not, you're going to trigger everybody around you? Imagine being that plant. Imagine being a beautiful plant out in the jungle and you can't even be a plant. Imagine that. You have to be a stick because you're afraid. And that's what happens in real life. You feel like, oh, okay, I don't want to be this beautiful plant that I know that I am already. I'll just be this shell or this stick to make everybody else feel comfortable. Is that fair for you? Is that fair for you? It's not fair for you. But guess what? Now, since you are dimming your light, you're letting them know that it's okay to take my energy. It's okay to use me. It's okay to make me feel unsafe, because you continue to allow it to happen over and over again. But the moment you say no, the moment you enforce boundaries, and the moment you put yourself first, that's when your leaves spread again. That's when you can see yourself again. That's when you can shine your light again, y'all, because that's what this is all about. How much of yourself can you be? And that sounds so crazy that I'm saying this, but in life, it's just really peeling back all the layers to see how much of yourself can you actually be. Because a lot of times we feel like we have to do, we have to copy, we have to compete, we have to mimic. But you're not brave until you can really face yourself and be yourself. So can you truly be yourself around people? How can you do that? By peeling back the layers. How can you do that? By identifying who's safe for you and who's unsafe for you. How can you do that? By intentionally stating your boundaries. This is just one example how we're just so closely related to nature. Nature is our first cousin. nature is our first cousin, so we can learn a lot through just looking at this plant. And that's just the basis of the things I wanted to introduce for today, is that, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who are safe for you, because if not, again, you're going to lose all your power. You're going to lose all your light. So I hope that something in this video today resonated with you, and I hope that sooner or later you can realize that you're not much different than the plants. Your nervous system is just like that. And it's so funny, because if everything around you is replicating your consciousness in your nervous system, that should be a priority. So the things we talk about, and I know we talked about last week how we're closely connected to the cocoa plant, and the week before that we talked about how you're closely connected to Wi-Fi, is because all of these things replicate consciousness. And if all of these things are replicating consciousness, shouldn't we prioritize our consciousness? Shouldn't we prioritize our thoughts and emotions? Because that's really what consciousness is. So we're going to be talking about that a lot here, y'all. We're going to be giving unconventional examples of what this means, so you can actually feel it in your body and not just hear the words, not just hear the big words and the definitions. You can actually see what you're experiencing. So I want you to, in your spare time, look up the Mimosa Pudica plant. That's Pudica. Look up that plant. Make sure I'm spelling it right. I don't know. And I want you to see the plant shrink itself literally when you touch it. And I can probably add a video here too, because I saw the plant and I recorded the plant. But I'm actually gonna do that. That's what I'll do, y'all. I'll add the video after this so you can see what happens to the plant whenever you touch it, because I was a threat to the plant, right? And sometimes, I know I'm supposed to end this video, but sometimes the person who's hurting you, sometimes they're unaware, because whenever I was touching the plant, I was unaware that I was harming the plant and the plant was going into fight or flight mode, but it happened. And I thought it was something fun to do, like, okay, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. But if the plant would have said, you better stop, you better lay low, I would have stopped. But because the plant couldn't speak and say these things, then I kept doing it and I kept doing it. See, the gift that we have as humans is that we can speak, we can communicate, and they can communicate too, but in vibrations and frequencies. And we communicate in vibrations and frequencies too. But we also have a verbal language. So with your verbal language, if you feel like somebody is continuing to harm you, you need to speak up for yourself, y'all. That's how we were given a gift of communication. A lot of us were. Some, not everybody, but a lot of us were. So that's how I'll end this video today. Okay, look up the plant. I'm going to add my video here too, but I want you to have this visual image of what happens whenever you shrink yourself, so you can understand that shrinking yourself is never going to benefit you. It's just going to harm you and cause chemical imbalances and cause energetic blocks, and we don't need that to happen, because guess what happens after that? Physical disease, mental disorders. You are not in order and you are in dis-ease. Okay, so that's the field trip today. We went on a field trip to the jungle in Ghana to look at the mimosa plant. So yeah, protect yourself.